The morning sun cast long shadows across the fields of New Haven as Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the observation deck of the colony's command center. She watched the farmers below continue their work, their movements calm and steady despite the news that had arrived 3 days ago. In 2 weeks, a massive asteroid field would tear through this system. In 2 weeks, everything these people had built would be gone. Lisa took a sip of her coffee and checked her tablet again. The evacuation was going well. Too well, perhaps, for people who were supposed to be panicking. But then again, the colonists of New Haven had learned not to expect help from anyone but themselves. Captain Morgan? Her aide, Lieutenant Amy Carter, appeared at her elbow. The diplomatic ship from the Galactic Council just entered our system. They're requesting permission to land. Lisa nodded. She had been expecting this visit, though she wondered why they bothered to come at all. The Council had already made their position clear in their last 3 messages. Humanity was too young, too primitive, and too unimportant to waste resources on. The loss of New Haven was regrettable, but unavoidable. Grant them landing permission. Prep landing bay 3 for their arrival. Lisa straightened her uniform. And Amy? Send a message to command. Tell them we'll need the fleet sooner than planned. Amy's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded and hurried away. Lisa smiled to herself. Soon, the galaxy would learn that humanity had been busy during their long years of isolation. An hour later, Lisa stood in the landing bay as the elegant elven ship touched down. The vessel was beautiful in the way all elven technology was beautiful. Smooth curves, gleaming metal, and a grace that spoke of centuries of refinement. It made the human structures around it look rough and simple by comparison. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and 2 figures emerged. The first was tall and graceful, with the pointed ears and silver hair that marked her as one of the elven nobility. Her robes were made of fabric that seemed to shift colors in the light. Behind her came a second alien, this one reptilian, with scales that gleamed like green metal and eyes that missed nothing. Captain Morgan? The elf's voice was musical, but there was coldness in it. I am Ambassador Kalen Thaloran of the Silver Moon Confederation. This is Commander Zara Veltar of the Hegemony. We come bearing the final decision of the Galactic Council regarding your request for aid. Lisa stepped forward and offered her hand. The ambassador looked at it for a moment before taking it with obvious reluctance. Ambassador Commander, welcome to New Haven. I appreciate you making the trip, though it wasn't necessary. Kalen's eyebrows rose slightly. Not necessary? Captain, your world faces destruction in less than 2 weeks. Surely you understand the gravity of your situation? Oh, I understand it perfectly. Lisa gestured for them to follow her toward the exit. But as I said, the trip wasn't necessary. We've already begun evacuation procedures, and we'll have everyone off-world well before the asteroids arrive. Commander Zara spoke for the first time, her voice a low hiss. With what ships? Our intelligence suggests humanity possesses fewer than a dozen interstellar vessels, most of them converted cargo haulers. You have nearly 50,000 people on this world. Lisa's smile didn't waver. We'll manage. We always do. They walked through the corridors of the command center, passing windows that showed the colony below. Children played in the streets while their parents worked in the fields and workshops. No one looked afraid. No one looked like they were facing the end of their world. Your people seem remarkably calm, Kalen observed. Have you not told them about the asteroids? They know, Lisa replied. They also know we'll take care of them. That's what we do. They entered Lisa's office, which was simple and functional. Maps covered the walls, showing evacuation routes and shipping schedules. The ambassador and commander took seats across from Lisa's desk. Kalen produced a crystal tablet and activated it with a touch. Captain Morgan, I'm afraid the Council's decision is final. Humanity's request for evacuation assistance has been denied. The Council cannot spare resources for every minor colony that faces natural disasters. Such incidents are part of the risk inherent in frontier settlement. Lisa nodded as if she had expected this. I understand the Council's position. Limited resources, established priorities. It makes sense from their perspective. Then you accept the decision? Commander Zara leaned forward, studying Lisa's face. I accept that the Council has made their decision. Lisa said carefully. But as I mentioned, it doesn't affect our plans. We don't need the Council's help. Kaylin's expression showed her irritation. Captain, I don't think you understand. Your ships cannot possibly evacuate 50,000 people. Even if you had, the vessels, which you don't, the logistics alone would be impossible for a species of your technological level. Lisa stood and moved to the window. Below, she could see a group of children being led through evacuation drills by their teachers. They were laughing and treating it like a game. Ambassador, may I ask you something? How long have the elves been members of the Galactic Council? Nearly 3,000 years, Kaylin replied with obvious pride. And in all that time, how many elven colonies have been lost to natural disasters? The ambassador hesitated. Very few. Our technology allows us to predict and prevent most such incidents. Exactly. Lisa turned back to face her guests. Now, how many human colonies do you think we've lost in the last 50 years? Neither alien answered, but Lisa could see them thinking. The official records would show dozens of human settlements that had simply vanished from the star charts. Pirates, natural disasters, alien attacks. The frontier was dangerous for those without powerful protectors. The answer is 0, Lisa said quietly. We've never lost a colony, not one. We've evacuated 17 settlements facing various disasters, fought off 6 different pirate fleets, and survived 3 separate alien invasions, all without any help from the Galactic Council. Commander Zara's eyes narrowed. That's impossible. Our intelligence clearly shows that humans lack the military and technological capabilities for such operations. Lisa's smile was warmer now, almost friendly. Your intelligence shows what we've wanted it to show. We learned long ago that being underestimated can be useful. An alarm chimed softly, and Amy's voice came through the intercom. Captain, you have an incoming priority message from Admiral Sullivan. Put it through to my private comm, Lisa replied. She picked up a small device from her desk and held it to her ear. The conversation lasted only a few seconds, but both aliens noticed the change in Lisa's expression when she set the device down. Well, Lisa said, standing up, it seems our timeline has moved up slightly. The fleet will be here in 6 hours, instead of 2 days. Fleet? Kaylin's voice was sharp. What fleet? Lisa moved to her desk and began gathering papers. Ambassador Commander, I want to thank you both for coming. Your visit has been very enlightening. I think you'll find the next few hours quite interesting as well. Captain Morgan, Commander Zara stood as well, her voice carrying a new edge. What aren't you telling us? Lisa paused in her packing and looked up at them both. For the first time since they had arrived, her expression was completely serious. For 50 years, the galaxy has made it very clear that humanity is on its own. We're too young, too primitive, too unimportant to matter. Well, we listened, we learned, and we prepared. She moved toward the door, then stopped and looked back. You're welcome to stay and observe our evacuation procedures. I think you might find them educational. After all, it's important for diplomats to understand the true capabilities of the species they're dealing with. As the door closed behind Captain Morgan, Ambassador Kaylin and Commander Zara found themselves alone in the office, staring at each other with growing unease. Outside the window, the peaceful colony continued its daily routine, but now their calm seemed less like ignorance and more like confidence. Something was coming. Something the galaxy wasn't prepared for, and in 6 hours they would all find out. What humanity had been hiding in the dark spaces between the stars. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching the massive display screen that showed the positions of every human ship in the sector. The base was hidden on the dark side of Earth's moon, built into ancient lava tubes. That had been expanded over decades. No alien scanner had ever detected it, and Kate intended to keep it that way until the right moment. Admiral, her communications officer called out. Message from Captain Morgan. They need the fleet at New Haven immediately. The Council's diplomats are already there. Kate nodded. She had been expecting this call. The asteroid field heading for New Haven was real enough, but it was also an opportunity. For too long, humanity had hidden its true strength. Today, that would change. Signal the fleet, Kate ordered. Operation Sunrise is now active. All ships are to jump to New Haven immediately. Around the command center, officers moved with quick efficiency. They had trained for this moment for years. Every human ship captain knew their role. Every crew member understood what was at stake. Kate turned to the woman standing beside her. Dr. Maya Rodriguez was small and quiet, but her mind was sharp as any blade. She had spent the last 10 years studying every alien species in the galaxy, learning their weaknesses, their fears, and their blind spots. "Maya, are you ready for this?" Kate asked. Maya smiled, but there was steel in her eyes. "I've been ready since the day the Council told us we were too primitive to matter. Today they learn what happens when you ignore humanity for 50 years. The display screen showed ship after ship powering up their jump drives. The fleet was massive, far larger than any alien intelligence report suggested. Hundreds of vessels that had been built in secret shipyards throughout human space. Each one incorporated technology that the elder races thought impossible. "Admiral," the tactical officer reported, "all ships report ready for jump. We're looking at 437 vessels total." Kate felt a moment of pride. When humanity had first reached the stars, they had possessed only a handful of crewed ships. The aliens had laughed at their primitive technology and refused to share anything useful. So humans had learned to build their own, taking scraps and salvage and turning them into something new. "Execute the jump," Kate ordered. The command center filled with the deep hum of massive engines as the entire human fleet vanished into hyperspace. Meanwhile, on the elven diplomatic ship orbiting New Haven, Princess Lyrelay Moonwhisper sat in her quarters, staring out at the human colony below. She was young for an elf, barely 200 years old, and this was her first diplomatic mission. Ambassador, Kaelin had brought her along to learn about the galaxy beyond elven space. But what she was learning troubled her. Lyrelay had read the files on humanity. According to the Council's records, they were a young species with limited technology and no military power worth mentioning. Yet the humans below showed no fear of the approaching disaster. Their evacuation procedures were smooth and organized, as if they had done this many times before. A soft chime announced someone at her door. "Enter," she called. Ambassador Kaelin stepped inside, and Lyrelay could see the tension in her mentor's face. "Princess, we need to talk. I've just received some disturbing information from our intelligence division." Lyrelay gestured for Kaelin to sit. "What kind of information?" "Our deep space sensors have detected massive energy signatures moving toward this system. Something big is coming, and it's moving fast." Kaelin activated a small holographic display. "The signatures don't match any known alien technology." "Could it be the asteroids?" Lyrelay asked. "No, these are artificial. Ships of some kind, but the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever they are, they're more powerful than anything in the Council's fleet." Lyrelay studied the display. The energy patterns were unlike anything she had seen before, but there was something familiar about them. "Kaelin, look at this section here. These power curves, they're similar to our own jump drives, but modified somehow." Kaelin frowned and looked closer. "You're right. It's as if someone took our technology and improved it. But that's impossible. No younger race has ever been able to understand elven engineering, let alone improve upon it." "Unless," Lyrelay said slowly, "they didn't just copy it. What if they figured out how to make it better?" Before Kaelin could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The two elves rushed to the bridge, where Commander Zara was already waiting. The reptilian alien's scales had darkened to a deep green, a sign of extreme agitation in her species. "What's happening?" Kaelin demanded. "The energy signatures just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system," the ship's captain reported. "You need to see this." The main screen activated, showing the outer reaches of the New Haven system. For a moment, there was nothing but empty space. Then, like flowers blooming in the darkness, ships began to appear. First a few dozen, then hundreds. Each vessel was sleek and deadly, their hulls gleaming with armor that seemed to drink in starlight. They moved with perfect coordination, forming precise formations as they advanced toward the inner system. "By the eternal stars," Kaelin whispered. "Where did they come from?" Commander Zara was studying her tactical displays with growing alarm. "These ships, the weapon signatures alone are incredible. Each one of those vessels could take on a council battleship and win." Lyrelay stared at the fleet advancing through space. They're human ships, aren't they? Impossible, Kalen said immediately. Humans don't have this kind of technology. They can't possibly have built a fleet this size without someone noticing. Who else could they be? Lyreley asked. We're in human space, responding to a human colony's crisis. The timing is too perfect to be coincidence. On the surface of New Haven, Captain Lisa Morgan received the signal she had been waiting for. Admiral Sullivan to all ground forces. The fleet has arrived. Commence final evacuation procedures. Lisa smiled as she looked up at the sky. Soon, those alien diplomats would see what humanity was really capable of. She activated her communicator and sent a message to the elven ship in orbit. Ambassador Kalen, this is Captain Morgan. If you and your party would like to observe our evacuation procedures, I suggest you move your ship to a safe distance and prepare to record everything you see. Your superiors on the Council are going to want a very detailed report. In the command center of the UNS Defiance, Admiral Kate Sullivan looked at the tactical display showing New Haven and the alien observers. The flagship was a massive vessel, larger than anything the Elves or any other Council race had ever built. Its weapons could crack planets, and its shields could withstand anything the galaxy could throw at it. But today, it wouldn't be used for destruction. Today, it would show the galaxy what humanity could accomplish when they were united and determined. Communications. Open a channel to all alien vessels in the system, Kate ordered. Channel open, Admiral. Kate straightened her uniform and looked directly into the camera. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of someone who had earned her position through decades of hard choices and harder victories. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the United Nations Space Force. To all alien observers currently in this system, I want to make something very clear. Humanity appreciates your visit, but your assistance is not required. We will handle the evacuation of New Haven ourselves, as we have handled every challenge we've faced for the past 50 years. She paused, letting her words sink in. You are welcome to observe and record our operations. I think your governments will find the data very interesting. The transmission ended, and Kate turned to Dr. Maya Rodriguez. Maya, start your cultural analysis. I want to know how each species is likely to react to what they're about to see. Maya was already studying the displays showing the alien ships. The Elves will be shocked first, then suspicious. They'll want to know how we developed this technology without their knowledge. The hegemony representatives will immediately start calculating threat assessments. They'll see us as a potential enemy rather than an ally. And the others? The smaller races will be hopeful. For the first time, they'll see that it's possible to challenge the Council's authority. Maya smiled grimly. Everything is about to change, Kate. The old order is ending today. Admiral Sullivan nodded. Then let's make sure we end it properly. Signal all ships to begin the operation. And Maya? Yes? Make sure our new friend's up. They'll get a good view. After 50 years of being ignored, it's time the galaxy pays attention to humanity. As the human fleet moved into position around New Haven, Ambassador Kalen found herself gripping the arms of her chair. Whatever was about to happen, she had the feeling that nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The age of human isolation was ending, and the age of human dominance was about to begin. The first thing that struck Ambassador Kalen about the human fleet was the silence. 400 ships had emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system, and they moved without a single wasted motion or unnecessary communication. It was like watching a single organism with hundreds of limbs, each one perfectly coordinated with the others. "This is impossible," Commander Zara muttered, her scales still dark with agitation. "Our intelligence reports show humans have maybe a dozen working starships. These vessels, where have they been hiding them?" Princess Lyreley was studying the tactical displays with growing amazement. "Look at their formation patterns. They're not just random ships thrown together. This is a proper battle fleet with support vessels, carriers, battleships. They have everything." On the bridge of the Elven diplomatic vessel, the crew worked frantically to analyze what they were seeing. The ship's computer systems had never encountered technology like this. The human vessels used familiar principles, hyperspace drives, plasma weapons, defensive shields, but everything had been improved in ways that defied explanation. "Ambassador," the ship's science officer called out, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups from the human fleet. They're preparing to fire on something. Kaylin felt her blood turn cold. Are they targeting us? No, ma'am. They're aimed at the asteroid field. Captain Lisa Morgan's voice came through the communication system, calm and professional. All observer vessels, please maintain current positions. We're about to begin clearing operations. You may experience some sensor interference during the process. Through the viewports, they could see the asteroid field approaching New Haven. Massive chunks of rock and ice, some as large as small moons, tumbled through space on a collision course with the colony world. The Council's scientists had calculated that it would take a full battle fleet 3 weeks to clear a path through the debris. That was assuming they had enough ships and weapons to do the job at all. The human fleet had different ideas. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UNS Defiance, watching the tactical display as her ships moved into position. Each vessel had a specific target, a specific role to play in the operation. There would be no waste, no unnecessary destruction. They would clear a path through the asteroids with surgical precision. All ships report ready, Admiral, her tactical officer announced. Dr. Rodriguez, how are our guests handling the situation? Maya was monitoring communications from the alien vessels. The elves are confused and frightened. The hegemony ship is running continuous threat assessments. The neutral observers are mostly just recording everything. Kate nodded. Perfect. Let's give them something worth recording. All ships, commence firing. What happened next would be talked about in alien military academies for centuries to come. The human fleet opened fire as one, their weapons creating a light show that could be seen from New Haven's surface. But these weren't the crude plasma cannons or laser arrays that most species used. The human weapons were something entirely new, energy beams that could adjust their frequency and intensity in real time, allowing them to slice through solid rock like it was paper. Asteroids that had been tumbling through space for millions of years simply vanished. Not destroyed in massive explosions that would create dangerous debris, but carefully disintegrated into particles so small they would burn up harmlessly in New Haven's atmosphere. By the eternal stars, Princess Lyrelay whispered. They're not just destroying the asteroids, they're controlling how they break apart. Ambassador Kaylin was too shocked to speak. The precision was incredible. Each human ship was hitting its targets with mathematical perfection, breaking down massive space rocks into harmless dust and gas. What should have been a chaotic battle had become a carefully choreographed performance. Commander Zara was furiously taking notes on her tactical display. Those weapons, I've never seen anything like them. The energy efficiency alone should be impossible. They're doing in minutes what would take our fleets hours. On the surface of New Haven, the colonists had gathered in the town squares to watch the light show in the sky. Children pointed excitedly at the bright flashes while their parents watched with quiet pride. This wasn't the first time the human fleet had protected them, and they knew it wouldn't be the last. Captain Lisa Morgan stood with Lieutenant Amy Carter on the observation deck, watching the evacuation ships land in perfect order. Massive transports that had appeared from nowhere, each one capable of carrying thousands of people in comfort and safety. Captain, Amy said quietly, the alien observers are trying to scan our ships. Should we block them? Lisa shook her head. Let them look. They need to understand what they're dealing with. High above, Fleet Commander Zilia Voss watched from her neutral observation vessel with growing amazement. As the military leader of a small alliance of independent worlds, she had always known that the major powers of the Galactic Council looked down on younger species. But this changed everything. Commander, her aide called out. I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from the human flagship. Zilia looked at the display and felt her breath catch. The UNS Defiance wasn't just larger than any ship she had ever seen. It was more advanced than anything the galaxy thought possible. Its weapons alone could probably destroy her entire fleet without breaking effort. How long do you think they've been building this fleet? She asked. Her aide checked the analysis displays. Based on the technology integration and the coordination between vessels. Decades, Commander, maybe longer. This isn't something they threw together quickly. This is the result of long-term planning and development. Zilia nodded grimly. And they've managed to keep it secret from every intelligence service in the galaxy. That's almost as impressive as the ships themselves. Back on the UNS Defiance, Admiral Sullivan was reviewing the operation's progress. The asteroid field was being systematically dismantled with clockwork precision. Every piece of dangerous debris was being neutralized or redirected away from New Haven. The evacuation ships were loading colonists with smooth efficiency. "Admiral," "Doctor," Maya Rodriguez said, looking up from her cultural analysis station. "I'm monitoring communications from the observer ships. The elves are starting to panic. They're realizing that everything they thought they knew about human capabilities was wrong." Kate smiled. "Good. Fear leads to respect, and respect leads to negotiation. What about the others?" "The hegemony is already calculating how to respond to humanity as a major power. They're pragmatic. They'll adapt quickly. The smaller races are excited. For the first time, they're seeing that the council races can be challenged. And the neutral observers?" Maya's smile was sharp. "They're already drafting reports to their governments. By tomorrow, every independent world in the galaxy will know that humanity is no longer a minor colony species." The operation continued for another hour. One by one, the asteroids were reduced to harmless particles. The evacuation ships finished loading the last of the colonists and departed for safe worlds deeper in human space. When it was over, New Haven hung peacefully in space, completely safe from the threat that had seemed certain to destroy it. Admiral Sullivan opened communications to all observer vessels. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of various other classifications, this concludes today's demonstration. As you can see, humanity is quite capable of protecting its own interests." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "We hope this has been educational. We also hope that future interactions between humanity and the galactic community will be conducted with a better understanding of our capabilities." Ambassador Kalen found her voice at last. "Admiral Sullivan, the Galactic Council will need to discuss these developments. Your fleet's capabilities raise many questions about galactic security and the balance of power." Kate's voice was polite but firm. "Ambassador, humanity has been asking to discuss our place in the galaxy for 50 years. The Council has consistently told us we're too primitive to participate in such discussions. We've spent that time preparing for the day when the galaxy would be ready to take us seriously. And you believe that day is today?" "I believe that day was 50 years ago," Kate replied. "But today, we'll have to do." As the human fleet began to disperse, each ship heading to different parts of human space, the observer vessels found themselves alone with their thoughts and their sensor readings. The galaxy had just learned that one of its most overlooked species had quietly become one of its most powerful, and none of them were quite sure what that meant for the future. Princess Lyrelai was the first to break the silence on the elven ship. "Aunt Kalen, I think we need to send a very different report to the Council than the one we originally planned." Ambassador Kalen nodded slowly, still staring at the space where the human fleet had been. "Yes, child. I think the age of elven dominance in the galaxy may be coming to an end." Neither of them realized it yet, but they were absolutely right. 3 months after the New Haven incident, Dr. Maya Rodriguez stood in the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Assembly, wearing the simple blue uniform of a United Nations diplomatic officer. Around her, the greatest powers in the galaxy had gathered for an emergency session. For the first time in 50 years, humanity had a seat at the table. The chamber was massive, built to accommodate hundreds of different species. Floating platforms held delegates from worlds across the galaxy, each one equipped with translation systems and environmental controls. Maya's platform was positioned at the same level as the major powers, a detail that had required weeks of negotiation. High Counselor Serafina Dawnbreaker called the session to order. The elven leader was ancient even by elven standards, her silver hair gleaming under the chamber's lights. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of 3 millennia. "We are here to address the emergence of humanity as a military power and the implications for galactic security," she announced. "Dr. Rodriguez, as humanity's first official ambassador to this body, you may speak first." Maya stood and activated her translation system. When she spoke, her words were carried to every delegate in the chamber in their native language. "Honorable counselors and distinguished delegates, humanity thanks you for finally acknowledging our existence. We have been trying to join this conversation for 50 years. A ripple of discomfort went through the assembly. Many of the delegates had voted against human membership applications multiple times. For 5 decades, we requested trade agreements, technology sharing, and mutual defense pacts. We were told we were too young, too primitive, too insignificant to matter. So we stopped asking and started building. Maya activated a holographic display showing star charts of human space. What you saw at New Haven was not a desperate last stand. It was a routine protection operation. Humanity has conducted 47 similar operations in the past 20 years, protecting not just human colonies but settlements of other species that the Council deemed unworthy of assistance. Murmurs of surprise echoed through the chamber. Commander Zara, representing the hegemony, leaned forward in her platform. You claim to have protected non-human settlements? We have no record of such operations? Because you never asked, Maya replied simply. The galaxy is large, and there are many species living in the spaces between your major trade routes. When pirates attack their worlds or natural disasters threaten their colonies, they don't call the Council. They call us. Maya changed the display to show a map of alliance networks. 73 species have formal mutual defense agreements with humanity. Another 112 have trade relationships that bypass Council-controlled markets. The New Haven fleet wasn't just human ships counselors, it was a coalition force. High Counselor Serafina's expression had grown very still. You're saying that humanity has built a shadow alliance network without our knowledge? With respect, Counselor, we built an alliance network because of your knowledge. You knew these species existed. You knew they needed help. You chose to ignore them because they weren't profitable or powerful enough to matter. Princess Lyrelai, who had been granted observer status for the session, watched the proceedings with fascination. In the months since New Haven, she had studied humanity extensively. The more she learned, the more impressed she became with their ingenuity and determination. Maya continued her presentation. Humanity proposes a new approach to galactic governance. Instead of a council dominated by the oldest and most powerful species, we suggest a truly representative body where every spacefaring civilization has a voice. The chamber erupted in protests from the major power delegates. High Counselor Serafina called for order, but it took several minutes for the noise to die down. Dr. Rodriguez, the counselor said when quiet returned, such a change would fundamentally alter the structure of galactic civilization. The current system has maintained peace for over 2,000 years. Peace for whom? Maya asked. The major powers, certainly, but what about the mining colonies that get raided by pirates because no one thinks they're worth protecting? What about the farming worlds that face starvation because trade routes are controlled by species that see them as competition? She changed the display again, showing economic data. In the past year alone, humanity has prevented the destruction of 18 colonies, stopped 12 pirate fleets, and mediated 7 territorial disputes. We've done more to maintain actual peace in the galaxy than the Council has in the past decade. Admiral Kate Sullivan's image appeared on a communication screen. She was addressing the assembly from the bridge of the UNS Defiance, which was stationed just outside the Council's home system. Counselors, Kate said, humanity isn't here to threaten anyone or demand the dissolution of existing agreements. We're here to offer partnership. The galaxy is changing, whether you acknowledge it or not. New species are reaching the stars. Every year, old threats are emerging from the dark spaces beyond known systems. You can either work with us to face these challenges together, or you can try to maintain the status quo while the galaxy evolves around you. High Counselor Serafina studied the human admiral's image. And if we choose the latter option? Kate's smile was polite but cold. Then humanity will continue doing what we've been doing for 50 years. We'll protect the people who need protection, help the species that need help, and build alliances with those who share our values. The only difference is that now you know we're doing it. The session continued for hours. Delegate after delegate stood to question humanity's motives, challenge their claims, or demand proof of their assertions. Maya answered each question with calm professionalism, backed by data that her intelligence networks had been gathering for decades. Finally, Fleet Commander Zelia Voss requested permission to speak. As the representative of the Independent Worlds Alliance, she had no love for the Council's policies. Honorable Counselors, I have had the opportunity to observe human military operations firsthand. Their capabilities are genuine, their intentions appear honest, and their results speak for themselves. She paused, looking around the chamber. More importantly, they are offering something the Council has never offered: True partnership instead of patronizing oversight. Commander Zelia makes an interesting point, Princess Lyralai said, rising from her observer platform. Perhaps it's time we asked ourselves why humanity was able to build such extensive alliance networks while our intelligence services remained completely unaware. High Counselor Serafina looked sharply at the young princess. Princess Lyralai, you are here as an observer only. Yes, Counselor. And what I observe is that humanity succeeded because they offered other species what we never bothered to give them: respect and genuine assistance without condescension. The chamber fell silent. A young elven princess publicly criticizing the council's policies was unprecedented. Maya seized the moment. Counselors, humanity doesn't want to replace the existing galactic order. We want to expand it. Include the species you've overlooked. Protect the colonies you've ignored. Build something better than what exists now. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from across the galaxy. The question isn't whether you can stop us. The question is whether you'll join us. High Counselor Serafina called for a recess to allow the major powers to discuss the situation privately. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, Maya remained on her platform, reviewing her notes for the next session. Princess Lyralai approached her platform. Dr. Rodriguez, may I ask you something? Of course, Princess. Did humanity plan all of this? The secret fleet? The alliance networks? The dramatic revelation at New Haven? Maya smiled. Princess, when you spend 50 years being told you don't matter, you have two choices. You can accept that judgment, or you can prove it wrong. Humanity chose to prove it wrong. And now? Now the galaxy gets to choose whether it wants to keep pretending we don't matter, or whether it's ready to accept that the age of small councils controlling vast populations is ending. Princess Lyralai nodded thoughtfully. I think I know which choice my people should make. As she walked away, Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The galaxy had finally learned that humanity existed. Now came the harder part: convincing them that humanity deserved to be an equal partner in shaping the future. But if the past 50 years had taught humanity anything, it was that they were very good at achieving impossible things when the galaxy wasn't paying attention. And some habits died hard. 1 year after the New Haven incident, Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the UNS Guardian, watching a mixed crew of humans, elves, and 3 other alien species work together to coordinate a rescue operation. The ship itself was a symbol of how much had changed, built with human engineering but incorporating the best technology from a dozen different species. Captain, called Lieutenant Amy Carter from her position at the communications station. We're receiving a distress signal from the Kepler colony. Pirate attack in progress. Lisa nodded. How many ships? 15 raider vessels, probably from the Red Nebula Syndicate. The colony's defenses won't hold for long. Signal the Moonbeam and the Starfall, Lisa ordered, referring to the elven and reptilian ships that made up the rest of her task force. We're going in. As the 3 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, Lisa reflected on how different things were now. A year ago, this colony would have been on its own. The Council would have debated for weeks about whether to send help, and by then it would have been too late. Now, joint patrol fleets like hers responded to threats across the galaxy within hours. The pirates scattered as soon as they detected the approaching warships. The Red Nebula Syndicate had learned the hard way that attacking colonies under the new Galactic Protection Accord was a very bad idea. All pirate vessels have jumped to hyperspace, reported Subcommander Thylan, the elven officer serving as Lisa's tactical advisor. The colony is safe. Excellent work, everyone, Lisa said. Amy, send our report to Admiral Sullivan and Ambassador Rodriguez. Another successful joint operation. Meanwhile, on the Earth orbital station that now served as the headquarters for the expanded Galactic Council, Dr. Maya Rodriguez was preparing for another day of the diplomatic revolution she had helped create. The new council chamber was 3 times larger than the old one, with platforms for representatives from over 300 species. Princess Lyralai, who now served as the elven representative for younger species affairs, joined Maya in her office overlooking the bustling station. The trade negotiations with the Outer Rim Collective are going well, Lyralai reported. They're excited about accessing human manufacturing techniques in exchange for their mineral resources. Maya smiled. And the hegemony's response? Commander, Zara has been surprisingly cooperative. I think she's realized that fighting the changes is less profitable than adapting to them. It was true. The reptilian commander had proven to be a pragmatic ally once she understood that humanity wasn't interested in conquering the galaxy, just reshaping it. The new economic partnerships were making everyone involved wealthier and more secure. What? About the resistance movements? Maya asked. Lyralay's expression darkened slightly. High Counselor Serafina still has supporters among the traditional elven nobility. They're calling for a return to the old ways and claiming that the new council gives too much power to primitive species. And your response? I've been spending time at the Human Military Academy, Lyralay said with a grin, learning about leadership principles that actually work instead of relying on ancient bloodlines. The Academy was another symbol of the changing galaxy. Located on a neutral world, it trained officers from dozens of species in the tactical innovations that had made the human fleet so effective. More importantly, it taught a new philosophy of military service based on protecting others rather than projecting power. Admiral Kate Sullivan's daily briefing interrupted their conversation. Her image appeared on the office's main screen, transmitted from wherever the UNS Defiance happened to be patrolling that day. Maya, Lyralay, good morning. I wanted to update you on the Deep Space Exploration Initiative. Kate's tone was excited. We've made contact with 7 new spacefaring species in the past month. All of them are interested in joining the Council once they understand how it works. Any problems? Maya asked. One of them tried to test our resolve by attacking a colony in the neutral zone. The response fleet convinced them that was a mistake. They're now very interested in learning about our diplomatic processes. Maya chuckled. The combination of humanitarian principles and overwhelming military capability had proven very effective at encouraging peaceful solutions to conflicts. Admiral, Lyralay said, my grandmother wants to know when you're planning to visit the Elven homeworld. The Council of Elders is finally ready to discuss formal alliance terms. Kate's image smiled. Tell her I'll be there next week. The Defiance could use some time in a friendly port, and my crew is curious about Elven culture. After the transmission ended, Maya and Lyralay made their way to the council chamber for the day's session. The sight never failed to amaze Maya. Hundreds of species working together to solve problems that had seemed impossible just a year before. Ambassador Kaylin Thaloran, who now served as the coordinator for interspecies cultural exchange, was presenting a report on education initiatives. Her proposal to establish multi-species universities throughout the galaxy had strong support from the younger civilizations. The sharing of knowledge benefits everyone, Kaylin was saying. Human engineering combined with elven artistry and reptilian mathematics is producing innovations that none of our species could achieve alone. Fleet Commander Zelia Voss stood to address the chamber. The joint patrol fleets continue to exceed expectations. Piracy is down 70% in the outer territories. Trade route safety has improved dramatically. Most importantly, species that were previously isolated now have reliable protection and communication with the wider galaxy. Maya listened with satisfaction. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. Some of the older species still resented losing their privileged positions. There had been attempts at sabotage, political manipulation, and in a few cases, outright military confrontation. But humanity's patient approach had won over most of the galaxy. Instead of demanding submission, they offered partnership. Instead of imposing their will, they demonstrated better alternatives. And when threatened, they responded with exactly enough force to end the threat without causing unnecessary destruction. Dr. Rodriguez, called High Counselor Serafina, who had eventually accepted the new reality and now served as an advisor on traditional diplomatic protocols. The survey team from the Andromeda Galaxy Project is ready to report. Maya stood and activated the long-range communication system. Captain Lisa Morgan's image appeared, but she was now speaking from the bridge of humanity's newest class of exploration vessel. Council members, we've successfully established first contact with 3 galactic civilizations in Andromeda. They're interested in cultural and scientific exchange, but they're not ready for formal diplomatic relations yet. Any threats? Asked. Commander Zara. None detected. They seem to be dealing with their own version of the problems we've solved here. Older species dominating younger ones, limited cooperation between different civilizations, that sort of thing. Princess Lirelai leaned forward with interest. Could we share our experiences with them? Show them what we've learned about building truly inclusive galactic communities? Lisa smiled. That's exactly what they asked for. Apparently, word of our governmental reforms has spread further than we thought. Maya felt a surge of pride. In just 1 year, humanity had gone from being ignored by the galaxy to serving as a model for other galaxies. The principles they had fought to establish, cooperation, protection of the vulnerable, respect for all species, were spreading across the universe. Council members, Maya said, standing to address the assembly. 1 year ago, humanity was told we were too primitive to participate in galactic affairs. Today, we're helping other galaxies learn from our experience. This transformation didn't happen because we were the strongest or the oldest or the most advanced. It happened because we never forgot that every species, no matter how young or small, deserves a chance to contribute to something greater than themselves. The chamber erupted in applause from hundreds of different species, each expressing approval in their own cultural way. But Maya wasn't finished. The galaxy that once didn't care about humanity now looks to humanity for leadership. But we must never forget the lessons we learned during our years of isolation. Power without compassion becomes tyranny. Strength without wisdom becomes destruction. We must use our influence to ensure that no species ever again faces the choice between accepting irrelevance or proving their worth through force. As the session continued, Maya looked around the chamber at the representatives of hundreds of worlds, all working together to build a better future. In the space of a single year, humanity had helped transform the galaxy from a hierarchy dominated by ancient powers into a true community of equals. And in the depths of space, human ships continued their patrols, protecting colonies, exploring new worlds, and demonstrating every day that the galaxy that once didn't care had become a galaxy that cared about everyone. The age of human isolation was truly over. The age of galactic cooperation had begun. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that humanity had never forgotten. Everyone deserves a chance to matter.